I'm Edd Kimber, and today I'm going to give you my top tips on making delicious pain au chocolat at home. Butter. It needs to be nice and pliable so that when we roll out the dough, the butter becomes these beautifully defined thin layers. If the butter is too cold when it's rolled out, it will crack and you won't get beautifully defined layers. And if it's too warm, the butter will absorb into the dough, making almost a kind of brioche dough instead. So to ensure it's of the right texture, you need to see how it performs once you've got it in its packet as a square. Ideally, the butter needs to be around 12 to 16 degrees Celsius. Don't have a thermometer, there's a nice way of testing it. Take that prepared butter and see how it bends. It needs to be pliable so you can bend that butter and it has nice flexibility. The second tip is all about lamination, the technique of rolling out and folding the dough, building up those layers. We would normally traditionally do this by at least 3 what's known as letter folds, where you take the dough and you fold it like a letter, refrigerating it and then repeating the process. This is completely fine, works really well, but I find for home bakers, doing this many folds can make the dough become a little bit warmer, we get a bit lazy, plus you might overwork the dough. So to lessen that impact, I only do 2 folds. The first is what's called a buck fold, where you almost double the layers in one single fold, and the second is a classic letter fold. This creates lots and lots of layers and an amazing pain au chocolat, but reduces the amount of work you need to do. The third tip is all about cutting and shaping our pain au chocolat. It's a fairly easy process. You're going to cut them out into rectangles. I find using a downward cutting motion rather than like a scraping or a sawing motion is better, because if the dough's a little bit too soft, slicing them will kind of create a locking effect where you might lock up the layers and you don't get that nice definition. To roll them, it's incredibly easy. You're going to place a baton of chocolate at the end of a rectangle of dough and roll that up like a Swiss roll. Once the chocolate's covered, you can add a second piece of chocolate and continue that roll. Once the pain au chocolat are approved, it's really important that when we egg wash pain au chocolat, you're only going to do the top surface. To find the full recipe for these pain au chocolat, you can check out the recipe online and in this month's Delicious magazine.